Okay, welcome to another episode of the program. I'm Neil Willis, and today we're going to talk about one of the toughest deals for a lot of salespeople in this business to close. The cash deal with no trade on a car that the customer doesn't have to buy. Now, I know that a lot of customers don't have to buy a car at all, but most of us need cars for transportation. So what I'm saying is this is the car that's the toy. This is the car they're buying just because they want it. Right? They've got another car that they drive. Maybe they have a company car that they go back and forth to work or do their business with. This is a car they don't need. And this is a customer that's writing a check for it. And they're not trading anything in. A lot of times, because that's a one-dimensional proposal, that's the customer that has us shaking in our shoes. You know, it's different than the customer that comes into the dealership and they've got their hat in their hand and they say, hey, can you get me approved? Is there any way you can get me out of this one with no money down and get me into a different one? I'll do anything, right? That's a different customer. We call that customer maybe the slow antelope. You know what I mean? A cheetah, even with a cast on its leg, might be able to run that one down, right? But how about the one that's at the front of the herd, right? The impala that goes twice as fast as all the other animals. You know what I mean? Can you catch that one, right? That's the one that's the check writer with the 858 credit score that doesn't even need the car they're buying. It's just a toy. They're going to add it to the fleet. Well, I had an experience like that, and that's what I made this class about, right? The customer was interested in the new Mustang GT, V8 Mach audio system, had a spoiler, leather loaded, beautiful car, right? And at this particular dealership that I was working at, they did what a lot of dealerships do, right? They told the customer how much it cost, and then the salesperson would make that presentation, and if the customer gave them a counteroffer, they'd just write it down, have the customer initial it, bring it back to management. Let me tell you what that looked like, right? So we said, hey, it's 31,148.22, because, we always like to make sure we have change on it, and then we give them a real number. But instead of having the customer sign off on that, the customer gave us a reflex objection and said, I'll give you 30. At this particular dealership, the salespeople were not very well trained. I'm not saying that that's not a technique that a lot of dealerships use, but think about how weak that technique is. The salesperson just said, oh, 30 grand, okay. Hey, and then he probably said something like this. Oh, is that going to be with tax or plus tax? You know what I mean? And of course, what does a customer say if you ask it that way? They always say no, on the road, out the door, with tax. Very bad question. But then the salesperson could even go farther and say, hey, why don't you go ahead and give me your initials on that offer, right? And that's a mistake, folks. Because what you're doing is you're taking somebody's reflex objection and you're formalizing it. But what could you do, right? With a cash deal, no trade, for a customer who can buy anything they want. The kind of customer that often has us shaking in our shoes because we know they don't have to buy from us and they don't have to buy this product. Well, I got a better idea than this. Instead of, here's how much it is, and the customer says, well, I'll give you this, and we say, okay, give me your signature, I'll take it to management. How about a professional salesperson that's got just a little bit more in their tool belt, right? We're going to go through 20 different solutions in these next 2 sessions, right? But we're going to break it up into 2. I'm going to get you started with the first 10 right now. So what do you do when the customer says, I'll give you 30 grand? Well, I got an idea. Let's get started with something as simple as this. Split it. Here's what I mean. We're at 31,148. The customer says, I'll give you 30. That means you're $1,148 apart. Say, hey, I know they won't go for this, but maybe I can get them to split the difference with you. That'll be about $30,600, right? Can I get your initials here? I'll see if they'll go for it. You just picked up $600 worth of gross. What's the worst thing that can happen? I know you're playing checkers, but it's still a little bit better than that, isn't it? How about this? Why don't we do an uneven split? If you're going to play checkers and you want to play it better, play it a little bit more sophisticated. Hey, I think management will go for the 148 if you'll do 31, Mr. Customer. Hey, wait a minute. That's not an even split. What'd the customer just do? They just offered another $600 to us as we begin, right, the negotiation. So if you're going to play checkers, at least play it smart, right? Offer an uneven split, then the customer will even it up for you. You end up with a little bit more traction. How about this? Just tell them no. Or not this one. In other words, hey, this is a Mustang GT Premium. It's got the leather interior, spoiler. It's got all the optional content. There's only one of these in the entire inventory. If it was a Focus or something like that, and I had them all lined out here like jelly beans, I could understand. being able to, shave the price a little bit just to try to make one of them disappear. But right now, Mr. Customer, these are at a premium. Hey, we're not charging a premium for it. All we're asking for is the list price on the car. This one, I just need your initials next to the 31,148 so we can get it cleaned up for you, right? So what's the worst thing that happens? The guy already offered you 30. You stick to the 31,148 for just one more pass and see what happens. I guarantee you'll pick up some gross. How about number 4 on the list? Hey, why not just suggest a used alternative, right? You could say, hey, listen, I know you want to pay 30. I got an idea. Why don't you just give me 25? I've got one over here for $24,900 plus tax and license, right? It'll save you a bunch of money. It's only got 17,000 original miles on it. It's only 1 year old. It's certified pre-owned. You're going to love it, and it's going to save you some money. Hey, if the customer goes for it, you might pick up some gross, right? How about this? How about a package down? Right? The customer says, I'll give you 30, and you say, hey, listen, we've got 3 V6s over here. Not only will they save you money on gas and insurance, but they're also $5,000 less. So you'll be under $30,000 on the road in a new V6 version of the same car. Hey, let's go take a look at those. Why don't we? And if the customer says, no, I really want the V8, I want the GT, and say, hey, I understand. You know what? It's only money. You can't take it with you. Give me your initials next to the 31,148. We'll get your car cleaned up. In other words, I offered them a way to get to the 30. They didn't want to take it. So I just remind them it's 31,148 and I ask for the sale again. What's the worst thing that could happen? Hey, it's no worse than saying, okay, give me your initials here. Let me take it to management. You know what I mean? Right? You might pick up some gross. So we got to suggest used. We got to package down. How about this? How about reduce it to a daily amount? How do you do a daily amount with a cash deal? It's got no trade in. The guy's not making payments. Here's an idea. How long is he going to have the car? Let's figure 5 years. So they're going to have it for 60 months. How far apart are we? We're $1,148 apart. Well, $1,148 into 60 months, if you break that down and divide it out by 30 days, you got 50 cents a day. And we know the customer is not going to pass up having the latest, greatest, newest, neatest, most amazing product out there for 50 cents a day. Hey, Neil, I just need your initials right here with a 31,148. I know you're not going to let that 50 cents bother you and keep you from enjoying your brand new Mustang. Or what's another technique we could use? Hey, your finance office will love you when you go ahead and suggest that they finance the car. Yeah, say, listen, you want to give me 30? I got a better idea. Give me 10 right now. Rates are historically low. There's no prepayment penalty. Give me a couple of signatures on a piece of paper and we'll have you taken care of, right? You can drive out of here, just give me 10 grand a day, keep the rest of your money in the bank where it belongs. You can make nice low payments on the car and you can pay it off anytime you want to. How about this? How about a lease alternative? Just ask the customer, say, hey, listen, I got an idea. Instead of giving me $30,000 in cash, why don't you just go ahead and pay $500 as you go? Right? We'll give you a nice lease on the vehicle. You can decide if you want to pay for the rest of it after you've driven it for a couple of years, and you can decide whether or not you want to go ahead and keep it, or if you want to go ahead and return it and just get another new car. You know, there's a lot of advantages to leasing. Let me explain some of those to you. Right? So you suggest another way for the customer to pay for the vehicle, and it gets you away from this $30,000 reflex counteroffer. Well, let's see. What else can we do? Well, how about the value close? In other words, it's like the brochure, what you get. The customer says, I'll give you 30. And you say, hey, listen, I know it's more than you want to spend, but do it anyway. Do it anyway because you get a V8, you get leather interior, you get the spoiler on it, you get all the optional content, you get the Mach premium audio system. It's a beautiful car. It's a little more than you want to spend, but man, are you getting a great value for your dollar. I need your signature right here next to the 31,148. Let's just do this. All right, what's another technique that you can do? Right, let's see. You could re-demo the vehicle. Yeah. So the customer says, I'll give you 30, and you say, hey, Mr. Customer, I got an idea. Let's go back out to the car for just a second. I want to show you something, right? Sit him down in the vehicle again, have him start it up again, and say, hey, man, you hear that? You smell that? That's 31,148.22. So that's half the techniques, right? Without too much difficulty, we came up with 10 different things that we could do when the customer says, I'll give you 30 grand. The next segment, we're going to come back. I'm going to give you 10 more.